Welcome to the final pre-order roundup in this room. How you doing? My name's Zuko, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of new anime figures, albeit a little bit late, from September, that are now up for pre-order. Kind of hard to believe I've been doing this for about almost 3 years at this point, but it's been good. It's been a fun time, and we're going to keep it going. I have been itching to change this series up a bit. I feel like it's getting a little bit stale in the way I present this information, but at the end of the day, it is just news, and I am just trying to update you guys, so maybe that's not required. But anyway, let's get started. Now, the pop-up parades were very few this month, only like 7, I think, which seems pretty low to me. But we did get Jamie from Street Fighter 6. I like how Jamie has the pattern throughout his outfit actually like etched in. I think that makes this look a lot better. They do increase the price for the Street Fighter pop-up parades, but I feel like it's worth it. It doesn't feel like they're just asking for more money because this is Street Fighter, but the quality increase, the details just like being a little bit more intricate compared to a typical pop-up parade. I feel like it's all justified. Moving on though, we also had a pop-up parade of Shinobu from the Monogatari series. This one's very cute in my opinion, though also pretty familiar at the same time. This sleeveless dress that she wears, there's a ton of figures of her in this outfit. I do like that they gave her a donut though, the mochi donut, the pondering I think they call it, and she's actually taking a bite out of it. The little donut piece is sticking out of her mouth. Actually looks like it's squishing down a little bit from the bite. I feel like it won't look that good on the final product, but I do like the prototype so far. I can't tell if maybe her eyes are like slightly too big on this sculpt. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but I just feel like something's slightly off here, but she still looks cute at the end of the day. But that's it for the normal size pop-up parades, I believe. We also had Alpha as well as Beta from the Eminence in Shadow, I believe this series is called. Still haven't seen it. Yeah, so these cost a little bit more money. They're more like 1/8 scales. Same outfits that they're wearing, like jet black suits with the gold decor and trim and all of that. Looks pretty good, though the black portions do look pretty flat, but I don't think the sculpts are bad. I do like that they kind of emphasize their bodies a little bit. Makes them look a little sexier. And Alpha's got some nice hair, I must say. Moving on, though, we also had a figure of Servant from Danganronpa. I would call this guy Nagito, but this is what he's called in Ultra Despair Girls, which is the only piece of Danganronpa media that I've never played, so I don't really know what's going on here. I would never object, though, to a Nagito figure, best character in Danganronpa 2, if you ask me. Kind of carries the game a little bit. And it looks nice. It definitely looks like him. Sometimes some of his figures do look a little bit off, but personally, not super into like the chain around his neck. Not for me. But if that's for you, I think it looks pretty good. We also had the pop-up parade of Wiz from Konosuba. She looks pretty lovely, very busty sculpt at that. The colors are nice on this one. The smile is nice and gentle. Decent amount of creasing in the outfit. Like, what more could you ask for, considering that Wiz doesn't really get that many figures in the first place? I guess you could ask for more figures of her, but that's not happening yet, so I think this is a pretty good option for you. And then we had a pop-up parade of Annie, female Titan form. Spoilers, I guess, if you never watched this show. Large size for 8,800 yen, like they all are. I've always appreciated how these look a little bit rougher than the typical pop-up parade, just to more align with the art style of the series. I would say more so with the manga, but I guess the anime would also work in this instance. But just the way they've done the muscles, like her chest, right? Those lines that are running all throughout her face, right? It just has these like really dark shadows and like deep lines like digged into the sculpt. It just looks really good to me. Nice to give her a more iconic pose that fits in line with Annie's character. I would say the only thing that might bug me is her hair, maybe, but that's just, you know, the pop-up parade thing. You're not going to get a lot of shading there, but I do wish it looked a little nicer. We also had, oh yeah, we had some Nier Automata figures. Did I mention that I don't remember like anything that went up for pre-order this month except for like 5 figures at most? Either way, 9S as well as 2B are getting some FuRyu figures for 6,000 yen. And you know what the good thing about this line is? The Tenatol figures, they're actually like decently sized for how cheap they are, 220 millimeters. And I kind of like the creativity here with 9S. It's nothing crazy, but I like this chill interpretation of him just kind of like, you know, sitting on a railing, just, you know, having a good time. Very peaceful. Like how they've sculpted their outfits, especially on 9S here, as I guess I'm just looking at them right now. But, you know, if somebody told me these were like inexpensive scales, I would probably believe them, you know, depending on price, of course. But I like these sculpts, and I do like that you do get the option to take off their masks if you would like to. You don't even need to include that on a budget figure, and yet they're doing it anyway. Next up is a Lime Pie figure from Apex. This is their budget line of figures, a 1/8 scale of Unicorn, the Angelic Nurse version, for 6,400 yen. Considering Apex's quality, that's like very intriguing. However, I don't think a Lime Pie figure is out yet, so who knows how this will actually turn out. But they're giving us Unicorn here in this little nurse getup. I like her sweater that she's wearing. I think that kind of completes the ensemble. But she also has the unicorn in the back. You do have to prop it up. I don't think anybody loves support stands, but when it is just frankly a budget figure, you have to expect stuff like this. I don't think it really deserves criticism. I just think it deserves praise when they find a way around that on budget figures. That would be pretty nuts, but that's not what they're going for here. But you know what? The gradation on this figure is actually really nice. Like, you could clearly see her hair going from a light purple to that light blue at the tips, and the way they painted her shoes, they have such a nice sheen to them. It's very, like, surprising at this price point. Cute face too. Maybe like the smile could look a little bit better, like the way they sculpted her mouth, but that's kind of it in terms of like criticism from me. I think this looks very promising so far. Next up though was Lucy from Edge Runners, out of nowhere getting a budget figure from Animester for 7,000 yen. I feel like this is like the default pose and just like sculpt they make for Lucy, even though there's not like too many figures. I know there's been like a resin or two, like a third-party figure that looks pretty much identical to this, though at the very least this one is official, and she's also a 1/7 scale, so pretty good size too. Not really too much in terms of like gradation, I guess. I do like how her hair is kind of broken up into segments just to kind of like mimic the Trigger art style. You could see it very clearly, the pink to the blue to the green to the yellow. I do dig that. And this is definitely not like a bad attempt at her face. I'm not going to say it's perfect. Frankly, I haven't looked at Cyberpunk Edge Runners in a little bit, so I need a refresher on what she exactly looks like, but it certainly feels like Lucy to me. You'll know if you want this or not, though I don't have any experience with Animester, so hard to say what the quality is. Speaking of them, though, they also had a figure of the Nyan Girl Wrestler Casey, a 1/6 scale for almost like 9,000 yen. Busty ass cat girl. Will give them credit, they made sure to nail that aspect of the figure. But another part that looks really good is actually her hair, like how messy it all is, how like just voluminous it looks despite being a rather short hair sculpt. And I like that she's just holding this massive kitty cat paw, which is not in this photo. Her chest is, of course, so you get a good gander of that. But yeah, it's not like she's wearing that paw, it's just like a trophy or like something. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I do like the oversized paw. Now, you do also get some extra pieces. This is one of those faceplates where the eyes follow you. I don't like that. And then you also do get a fluffy tail, which is neat. Very, like, unnecessary, these extras, but hey, the more the better, I would say. And then from Aniplex, actually, we had everybody's favorite calorie-inhaling heroine. It's Anna from Makima. 4,800 yen, extremely cheap. This is a non-scale, so don't expect it to be very big, but it's depicting Anna in her bikini from that one swimsuit episode. I think it's the same bikini. Very similar if it's not. She does come with the beach chair, which is a really great like bonus, though. Aniplex does make a lot of figures that are cheap, where the character is sitting down, though I do like that because they made this a bikini figure. They also gave her something a little bit more appropriate to sit on. Very cute expression. Love what they're going for here. Very cheery, very fun, as Anna is known to be. I don't think it's like shaded that nicely, I guess, but it's also very cheap, so I don't really see a big issue in it. I think the cuteness does carry this one, and she did look good in that bikini from that one episode, so I think it's alright. I believe this is her first figure, though a lot more are coming. Definitely. Alright, so I'm going a little bit out of order today, but I just felt like changing things up. Maybe for like pacing's sake. But let's talk about Kotobukiya next. They had a couple of re-releases, including Rika Takarada and Akane Shinjo from Gridman, both about 16,000 yen. Very quaint in comparison to like all the other crazy different types of figures that they've recently been getting. These almost feel like nostalgic somehow, but the series is not that old. As well as a re-release of Tokai Teo, Show Off Your Dreams version for 20,000 yen. Kind of pricey. It is a very cute one, very vibrant colors. Love the way this figure looks. In fact, I think it's one of their better Uma Musume scales they've put out. But, you know, that's the price range where I start to get a little bit worried, especially on a re-release. Also, I never really did love the bases on the Kotobukiya scales, like this podium they're on. It almost looks like gold tape to me, just not a big fan of the way they handle the bases on these girls. But the pose is like perfect for her. I think this one is super adorable. And you know, I guess when you compare to like any other figure from this series, they're all like 26,000 plus at this point. So 20,000 really isn't that bad. Moving on to the new stuff though, we had Hiei from YuYu Hakusho for 25,000 yen, the version 2, which is frankly a lot more exciting than the version 1. They're also putting out Kurama, a version 2 of him, though technically he does have 3 figures at this point, but who complained about that? Both of them are the same price. I guess we'll go over their bonus faceplates first. If it loads, you get the smile with Kurama, which is nice. Doesn't really fit the pose that well, but it is a nice looking faceplate. And then for Hiei, I'm assuming you get to see his eye on his forehead a little bit better. Yeah, the hair is like spiked up even more. But yeah, you got the Dragon of the Darkness flame on the sculpt, which is awesome. Not the first time we've seen that, but it is the first time from Kotobukiya, I believe. And I do like the way they've sculpted it. I do like the semi-translucent purple plastic. I don't know why these photos are taking so long to load, but yeah, I think he's definitely got one of the better version 2s out of all 4 of the main characters. Maybe even the best one. I don't know. This one just came out fantastically. The colors are so good, especially on the flames of the Dragon of the Darkness flame. In comparison, I do feel like Kurama's figure is a little bit less exciting, but you do have the thorn whip out. You got the petals, you know, fluttering in the wind and the breeze. The pink wind at the bottom is a nice color for him, but I don't know, it doesn't really like wow me in any way. I think it's very well done. I think it's painted nicely. The shading on the pants is a standout for some reason. Maybe go a little bit harder on the wind effects at the bottom. Feels like this is very tame in comparison to Hiei. I still say if you don't have either of the Kurama figures, this is the better one, but it is like twice the price, of course, and they make these bonus faceplates so hard to get that it makes me very salty. Anyway, we have Tomo Ebizuka from girls band Cry. I think this is the third girl to go up in the series. It's a real shame that she just doesn't have her piano. She has musical sheets behind her, which kind of reminds you that she plays the piano, but I don't know why they just couldn't give her that. I don't think it would have cost that much. But regardless of the pricing, it just feels like something's missing from this figure, which is a shame. I do like the daintiness of her lifting the skirt. I think it's very cute. Or I guess that's just her jacket. I don't know. Either way, right? She's lifted the dress portion of the outfit, and she looks very cute doing so. And it almost makes it feel like the sheets are coming out of the outfit, like a little bit, which makes you think, or makes me think of the Senjo Gahara figure from the Monogatari series, that like really popular one where like all the stationery is on like the bottom of the base because she's lifting her skirt. Super good figure. This kind of reminds me of that, but like it's not even really attempting it. It just reminds me of it. I'm rambling at this point. Her bonus faceplate is a cute smile. The fang makes this one great. But yeah, other than that, a very white figure, only like a little bit of black for contrast. And then like her dark brown hair, I guess adds a little bit more. But I think that's okay because most of the band members are wearing very dark colors, including Subaru, which I'm blocking right now, who is wearing primarily black with like a little bit of purple around her collar, her shoes, and even her eyes. If we go to her bonus faceplate, we can see she's winking, but also sticking her tongue out, which makes this a little bit more enticing. Even though these are so annoying to get, they need to change this for the consumer, me, outside of Japan, because I don't want to spend like 8,000 more yen for something like this. It's one faceplate. It's not worth it. Now, she does have a drum which is like them throwing us a bone. These figures are so expensive and you don't get their instruments half the time, which is crazy to me. Is this like the most expensive IP ever? We have that one Aniplex Bocchi the Rock figure where she's leaping in the air with her guitar, a whole like stage behind her. And wasn't it like under 20,000 yen or like around that? This is almost 26. It's nuts. I do like it. I would have wanted some of these if they were priced a little bit better. But like, I just can't really justify it. Do like that they painted her nails though. I do like the black nail paint. It's a lovely figure, but it's just like, I don't know, man. I can't get behind it. It's a shame. These might drop in price or they might become obscure because this series is pretty popular. Like a lot more popular than a lot of shows like this where girls are playing music. I would certainly recommend it. I had a great time watching it. But yeah, let's stop complaining and move on to MegaHouse. I believe this next one is a re-release, more like a recolor. I want to say her original figure was purple. I don't know if that's true though. I do think she has much nicer figures out there, especially made by MegaHouse. They might even be the only ones who make Tsunade figures, but maybe you just want Tsunade in a swimsuit, and then this looks fine. Though, if this is like how it's sculpted, like that gap in the neck, I would say that's no good. In fact, some of the features of the bikini, like the string by the chest, looks a little sloppy to me. Maybe I'm turning around on this one in a negative way. I don't really like it that much, but you know, it's one photo. Could be wrong. Anyway, next up we have a very similar type of figure. Here is Boa Hancock version BBEX 20th anniversary, which is another recolor. The original figure, I believe, was a red bikini. So if you like purple on Boa Hancock, and I would say this looks a little bit better than the last one, then you could pick this up for 16,500 yen. Another re-release we got was Naruto in his Sixth Path Sage mode. Certainly a very fiery looking paint job, and I do like that you get to head sculpts the kunai in his mouth, or I guess without, so you can see his grin instead. But yeah, if you missed out, now you got another opportunity to pick up Naruto. Moving on, we have the Melty Princess of Marseille from Dungeon Meshi. I don't really think this looks like her. Personally, not a big fan of this one. It's like kind of cute because of the expression, and I like that she's eating some soup, but this just doesn't remind me of the Dungeon Meshi art style, whether it be the anime or the manga. If there's anything to get excited about with this figure, if we can go find the photo of it, you know what it is. They've sculpted her feet like immaculately for such a cheap figure. It's kind of nuts how nice her feet look. They didn't have to do that. They could have just given her shoes, but you know, they wanted to do that. Whoever sculpted this figure thought that would be a good idea. And I wouldn't be surprised if that actually increases the sales of this one. But we also have a figure of Kakashi, the Gem Series palm size, so pretty small, 7,900 yen. You know, I think the first time I saw this figure, I believe I said this was him when he was like younger, but I don't think that's actually the case. Kind of just looks like normal Kakashi to me now. But I guess that's the extra photos and just like the better quality doing that for me. I guess I could still be wrong now, but I'm not sure. But yeah, he's small. I think this might be the first Naruto palm size figure. So they're probably going to make a few more of these. In fact, they're definitely making a Naruto. I think his shirt was off for whatever reason. But yeah, he looks pretty good. I like the way they painted him. No complaints about the sculpts. I was just confused. Here's a Gundam Girls Generation figure of Lacus Klein, the pilot suit version for 24,200 yen. 225 millimeters makes me think this is like the 1/8 scale or so, though it doesn't specifically say. I do think she looks rather pretty thanks to the eye decals and the definition of her lips. The lip gloss is a nice touch. Just a very nice face sculpt all around. Pink hair, very nice on the eyes. Love that shade of pink. And it kind of looks like they're dry brushing the silver components of her outfit. And then, yeah, typical skin-tight bodysuit type of figure everywhere else. Do love the base, though, the colors, even though it's just like an acrylic disc with like the art on the inside. It's very like eye-catching. Such a vibrant starry sky. Desktop McCoy EX Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan Goku Super Saiyan Gohan on the motorbike. Love the concept. But this figure is very small, 160 millimeters. This one kind of stings me a little bit because I absolutely adore this concept. Not only just like father and son bonding, but I just love the casual Super Saiyan thing that they did a little bit in the anime, but we don't get tons of figures like that. I really love this setup, and I love the scooter too. I guess you're always going to be paying up a little bit for the miniature vehicles, bicycles, scooters in this instance. It bugs me, but like I get it. It's a lot of work to bring this stuff to life, make it as realistic as possible. Yeah, I just needed this to be like a little bit bigger or a little bit cheaper, and I would have instantly bought this. This would have been an instant cop, but it's not right now. And I know for a fact this will just be like super hard to find in the future, but I'm willing to live without it. I'll just appreciate it from afar. I don't even collect that much Dragon Ball stuff, so it's okay. I'll live. Next up, we have a CC figure in the gem line from Code Geass, celebrating the 15th anniversary, I suppose, for 24,200 yen. I guess that's just the price of their figures this month. Not a big fan of that. But yeah, here we have CC, mostly naked. I don't think she's gone commando. I think she is wearing panties, but you do have to find specific photos to see it, like right there. Don't think there's a bra though I would be surprised if she was showing any nipple. Probably not going to be the case. Either way, don't get why this is so expensive considering she's basically naked at this point. One frilly band around her arm doesn't really count, but she is, you know, wearing Lelouch's cape, which is like kind of making an S in a sense with the way it's like flowing. I do think the shape of the cloak kind of draws you in a little bit, and then you stay a little bit longer because she's naked and all of that. Face looks great on this figure, but she does have a ton of figures out there. I don't know if this is going to be anybody's like specific favorite, but it is a good one. Our last MegaHouse figure though is actually a 2-for-1. Pretty Cures, Cure Black, and Cure White. And I gotta be honest, kind of love these for some reason. I've never seen anything Pretty Cure, but I think this is a fantastic sculpt. And the pricing isn't even that bad considering it's 2-for-1. So 33,000 nets you both of the characters. Their base is like just some cobbled together stone, most likely a destroyed building or, I don't know, structure of some kind, right? But I don't know, they're so close to each other, interlocking with their hands, extending forward to you, with their like Polly Pockets right there as well. I don't know what those actually are, but that's like my closest guess. Probably a cell phone or something for communication, or maybe the way they transform. I don't know, there's like cute animals inside them, but either way, the shading is great. Love the way they've done their hair. Nice flow to it. The outfits are cute. The colors are cute. It's good shit. I just like it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have that much to say. I just love their expressions. They're so happy. Everything about this figure is happy. So I just like it. Anyway, we're going to jump over to freeing now. And I don't think they put up anything too crazy this month. Our first freeing figures, though, are both from the Chorish Recoil. We have Takina, as well as, of course, Chisato. Both for about 33,000 yen, which is pretty fair, I guess. I mean, it is the most like traditional basic bunny suit there is, but they're also very popular characters. They could have asked for so much more and probably gotten away with it. So I consider this okay. They definitely both look exactly like the characters, which I can't always say, and they chose like the perfect color for both of their suits. So like, what is there to really complain about unless you wanted them to be like more creative? But like half the time freeing is just not gonna do that. You roll the dice, your favorite character might get something like lavish and interesting, or you might get something traditional, but a lot of people do like the traditional bunny stuff, so I can't really find a fault in these. Sometimes I complain about that, but I don't really feel like doing it right now. I don't know why. I think they look good. Maybe it's just because like the likenesses are so perfect here, and the poses are good too, that it's like, alright, it gets the pass. Anyway, from Love is Indivisible by Twins, we have Nayori, and I think the other girl is here, Rumi. 18,000 yen, these are 1/6 scales. I think there is a photo of them together, just to get a look. As basic as can be, again, black bunny suits this time, so not even trying in terms of colors, but it's not like the black's bad. A black bunny suit is like iconic. So yeah, you gotta expect some of these bunnies to look like this. They're always going to make traditional and black suit bunny figures, so I don't know. Either way, we have Shikimori's not just a cutie, Shikimori, bunny suit version. Now this one looks more like a casino bunny, but but also has like that made top thing going on. Gonna cost you 36,000 yen, 3,000 yen more for just a little bit of creativity. Not too bad of a trade-off. But it looks nice on her, you know? I think her hair has some nice shading to it too, a lovely shade of pink. I will say, not the biggest fan of her expression. I feel like they could have went a lot of ways with her, but they kept it safe with this sincere, gentle smile, I guess. A little bit of blush, I think, under her eyes, but it's kind of hard for me to see right now. And armpit. There you go. Here is a figure from Higehiro of Sayu Ogiwara for 35,000 yen. I like the little jacket they put her in. Nice and glossy, as it typically is. The suits, or like the main article, usually is glossy on a freeing figure. The winking expression, very nice as well. A smoky gray skirt is pretty unique for one of these bunny figures. And the boots, that might be the best part. You know I'm a sucker for some long boots, plus the fishnets, it's a great look. Though the more I look at the skirt, the less I kind of like it. I do wonder if this one's like taking inspiration from anything, like some art or something like that. Because I am unfamiliar with her. But this one's pretty good. I do wish they weren't making her hair translucent, though. That's probably going to bug me on the final product. We have... Oh, I forgot about this one completely. We have a B-style of Juri from Street Fighter 6 for 35,000 yen. Gonna be honest, people aren't going to like this. I don't like this figure. I don't think it looks like her. It looks off. I will say her pose is a bit outrageous when you, like, turn the figure around. She's really, like, bending down, showing a lot. But, yeah, I would say, like, you know, getting to see her tattoos is great, especially on her back. Yeah, I would say this one is definitely a little bit more suggestive than the Chun-Li figure, which is, you know, appropriate. That makes sense, because Juri is more, like, provocative, I suppose, just the way she acts, right? I'm kind of surprised that, like... They kept her chest so modest, because there's, like, costumes in Street Fighter 6 where she's just, like, exposed, man. But they got the whole spider tattoo covering that area. I'm kind of surprised. Like, I almost want to applaud them for not making this the horniest figure they possibly could. But I also think that's slightly detrimental to the sales of this figure. I do think a lot of people like this one, so don't take my word for it. I just don't really love, like, the shape of her head. And her eyes look a little wrong to me. The smile could be a bit better. I don't know. It's not my favorite figure of Juri, but I'm not like a Juri super fan or anything. I just love Street Fighter. And our last bunny figure from Freeing is actually Anna Yamada from The Dangers in My Heart. Frankly, I didn't even know this was her when I saw this figure. It took me like a couple of minutes to be like, oh, okay, there you go. So basically I'm saying... This just doesn't look right. It also doesn't help that they kept her in the basic black bunny suit, so it's not really, like, grabbing my attention in another way. I don't know, man. I feel like they kind of fumbled this one, and considering she's a pretty popular character, that feels like a big deal. I feel like they need to tune this one up a little bit, but I don't know if they will, because we're looking at a pre-order page right now, and they typically don't do that, at least not drastically. Most companies will not do that unless like something's really, really bad. But I don't know. This one kind of just doesn't work for me. I've seen a lot of people disappointed in it, and there's not really that much to say outside of like her blue hair is nice. I think they painted her hair well, but other than that, I feel like they've missed the mark on Anna here. Either way, let's jump over to, I think, Good Smile Company now. Alright, so let me just get this one out of the way. You know what I'm about to say here. It's so overpriced. DMM Factory is making this figure of Kana. She looks adorable. I love the beanie. We need more anime figures with beanies, goddammit. Such a cute hat to put on an anime girl, and they don't do it ever. But it's just way too much. I can appreciate that they did put some, like, pink highlights in her hair, but, like, come on, man. This is so simplistic, and it doesn't need to be complicated, but it also does not need to be almost 28,000 yen. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but we're strictly sticking to figures released in September. That makes sense, but considering the video's late, you might expect me to talk about some stuff that like just recently went up. I can't do that. This video is way too long, but I'll make one exception. Kana from Good Smile Company also went up for pre-order, and it's 10,000 yen less. Like, come on, dude. And I know they're not really going for the exact same thing. The DMM Factory fashion is more like cooler, right? It's a cooler interpretation of Kana, whereas this is just like an adorable side of Kana. But at the same time, like the sculpting across the board is just better. The colors look better. You get a whole ass crate, the ice cream and the fruit, and like, I don't know, the plaid skirt, her bag looks like leather. She also does have the highlights, but her hair is like flowing a little bit more in the breeze. It's just, I don't know, man. For like 10,000 yen less, I feel like you would be crazy to go for the other one, unless you just like that outfit 10 times more than this one. But that ain't me. Anyway, might as well show off the other DMM Factory figure. We have the Illustrator Collection figure Toshiue Kanajo. Illustration by Wata, 36,000 yen. Very expensive, like ungodly so. But at the same time, it's at the very least way more creative. Like, I've never seen a swimsuit figure that looks quite like this. It's so like wavy, but like the way it's opened is very strange to me. And her hair almost like merges with the swimsuit. I feel like my eyes kind of get lost looking at this figure just because of how much flow and movement is incorporated into the sculpt. At the same time, I do fear that the shading on this figure is going to be a little lackluster. It doesn't look that great in these photos, and considering the darker palette, the chances of this figure looking very flat in person is pretty high. But she is very pretty. I do kind of love looking at this figure. I think it's enamoring in a way, but I also just don't have a ton of confidence in it at the same time. It feels very ambitious, and I don't really know if DMM Factory can pull this off. Here we have the DP12 Morning Fable version. We've seen this one a few times now. This one is made by Wonderful Works, who I am a fan of. 28,000 yen for a swimsuit style figure is a little bit too much, but at the same time, it does double as like a seaside dress style figure, and it has like this translucency to it that feels kind of tasteful in a way, to me at the very least. I think she's pretty gorgeous in this dress, but I did say doubles because you can just take the entire dress off if you would like to. Not sure about the bag, though. You might have to keep that bag around. I don't see a photo without it, which feels a little out of place when you take the dress off. I don't know why they would do it that way. This photo's not messing around, though, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, despite also getting like the gun case and the little robot friends over there, I think the real draw of this one is the dress. I just love how thin they've managed to make its appearance, and I feel like taking it off kind of not ruins the figure, but takes away a lot of the charm. I get that she's very sexy and voluptuous, but like, there's so many figures like that I feel like you're kind of ruining this one by making it just a basic bikini figure. But what do I know? She's very sexy, her face is very pretty, and I do dig the way they painted her hair with like the back portions having these like white streaks and highlights. Looks exceptional to me. Very nice swimsuit figure. Let's finish off Fat Company with Eshin Flash for 26,800 yen. The horse girl's always expensive. This might be the most like distracting horse girl. I don't think I've ever seen one that had like such an exposed chest, but maybe I'm forgetting one of them. I don't know, the character designs don't usually look like this to me. But either way, I do like the full sprint sculpts. They're very energetic and lively, and that's what you kind of want, unless they're like just kind of striking their pose from the game, right? But yeah, she does have two faceplates, this gentle smile. A lot of the figures have stuff like this, and then one where she is like really into the moment. She's shouting, she's determined. I love stuff like this. And like a lot of the other horse girls, very like elaborate, lavish, fancy outfit. Wouldn't be surprised to see an idol girl from like Idolmaster wearing this, but they do kind of double as idol girls in this series. And the base is pretty big on this one. You get to see her spats from the back if you turn the figure around. That's great. But yeah, nice colors for sure. But like I said earlier, I find this one slightly distracting. Anyway, let's jump over to, who is this? The Sayuri Dairy Cow version, wearing a cow print sling bikini over a track jacket, which, I don't know, I kind of like that. It's like a Kill Bill jacket in a way, just because of the color scheme. Very long twin tails, and I like the way they're kind of curving around her body, outward and back in. I just think that's really nice as far as like this price point goes. She's also got her fingers like in the sling bikini, pulling on them a little bit, just extending it to make it a little bit more attractive, a little bit more alluring. That's some good stuff. And the face mask, I think, kind of completes it. Pretty good, especially for the price point. You know, we actually got 3 Overlord figures all from Kadokawa this month, so I guess let's just go through them now. Lupus Regina Beta 10th Anniversary Soben version with background parts. I don't know if there's a version without the background parts, but this is going to cost you 27,000 yen. I do like the sass of this one. I like her pose a lot. I like her expression a lot. And I also do like her background parts a lot. If the base is what they mean by that, the rocks that have this like nice shimmer to it, almost looks like metallic red paint, and some weird ass coral back there. I don't think that's supposed to be coral, but looks like that to me. Also, the little wolf on the cliffside. I don't think I saw that the last time this figure was shown off. It was probably there, but like I did not take notice of that. Her hammer, which I believe that's what her weapon is, also looks pretty sick. Considering that she's going to be like a 1/8 scale, I believe, I do think this price is a little bit too high. I would say, though, that I vastly prefer Alter's version of Lupus Regina. That composition is vastly superior than what I'm looking at here. That cliffside is just so unique, the way it's kind of like designed and curves back in, leaves like a little bit of dead space under her. It's very unique, whereas this one, not so much. But I do like her face. I do like her expression. That's kind of carrying it for me. But I do feel like she is a little overpriced for what this figure is delivering. We also have a figure for CZ2128 Delta 10th Anniversary Soben version for about 26,000 yen. I do think all of this camo looks a little bit gaudy, like the gloves and the scarf and the pants, but it's obviously intentionally done. That's just her design, so it loops around to being kind of charming in its own way. And I do really dig the armor design of the dress, like the plating looks really sick to me, but you also get that maid outfit underneath, and it's frilling a little bit. Shading doesn't look great on this figure because it's black and white, and then the camo isn't going to have any shading as well, so it's really relying on the hair to have most of the shading and gradation, but it looks pretty average, all things considered, for the paint. So I'm not like super impressed with this one. I just dig the character design, and I know she doesn't have that many figures, so it's kind of like a take what you can get situation. But outside of that, we also had a figure of Albedo, the splendid kimono version. Definitely not her first kimono figure, probably won't be her last either. Can't recall another one where she's smoking a pipe though, so that's pretty unique. I also do dig the like the background, the window behind her. The spider webs do look pretty cheap, as it's just like a decal slapped on there. They probably should have sculpted it, but you know, the figure is already 35,000 yen, so it would have cost way more if they did all of that. But at the very least, I can say that I do like the wooden finish of this figure, of the frame and the windowsill that she's sitting on, plus that red background. It looks really nice, actually, the way it's kind of gradating a little bit to the darker shade of red. And yeah, obviously Albedo looks pretty sexy here. The kimono is like coming off of her shoulders. The way she's sitting shows off her thighs, and if you turn the figure a little bit, she'll expose a little bit more than that, but they're not going to show that in this gallery. They did put some makeup on her. The eyeliner, the lipstick comes together really nicely, makes her face even prettier if you ask me. The way her hair is styled is great, and the kimono has these like golden spiders on them and the webs. It all really does look very nice and very fitting for the character. Wings seem pretty well sculpted, though I would need to see like some better photos of that. But I like this one. The execution's great, and for a kimono figure, they're going a little bit above than they need to, so bonus points for that. All right, here is the Darkness Fairy Tale version from Konosuba, 25,000 yen. This one's made by Alice Glint, based off Cinderella. You got the glass slippers down there, the rat, a pumpkin. I dig that the rat is a plushie this time. The button eyes are adorable. Very pretty outfit for her, just a primary yellow to fit her color palette that she's typically known for. And I do dig the marble staircase and the like fake rug down there. I don't think it's going to be like a plush rug, a fabric rug, but a nice red plastic rug instead. Yeah, great idea. They're probably going to do more of this if it sells well. And it seems like there's a little bit of glitter applied to the dress, which I do like. We also have a figure from SSR Figure of Leo Chi. I don't know if I said her name right. I tried to look it up. Still a little hard to find the exact pronunciation, but this girl very obviously designed by Asanagi. If you're degenerate, like myself, you probably know that already. 22,500 yen doesn't seem like that bad of a deal because of the snake, its size and the scales, but also like the way they're sculpting her. The shoes look pretty good. The little pattern on the shoe looks very nice. The gradation and the shading on the thigh highs. The hip to waist ratio is ridiculous here, as it typically is with Asanagi. Pretty revealing, not like a cast off because it's on Good Smile Company's page. Maybe there's an alternative version that is, but even from the back, you're seeing quite a lot of her butt. So still very fan servicey. And something that I read on the bottom of the page is that the bells are actually made of metal. Real metal, kind of cool. Her face looks great too. Love the eyes, very striking, that red. Great color, the fangs are really long too. It's good stuff. We've also got a figure of Owari from Azur Lane. This is the light equipment version for 19,000 yen, though there is a normal version, heavy equipment version for 24,000 yen instead, where you get this like oversized kimono sweater combo that she's wearing. I was kind of surprised that it's only a 5,000 yen difference considering how big this extra outfit is, but hey, if you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. But you can take it off on the second version, so I feel like if that price isn't that bad for you, I would just go for like the deluxe version in a sense. But yeah, she has really nice braided hair, very long on this sculpt. I dig the fishnets incorporated into the design, like on her thighs, on her arms. I think it's a decal though, maybe painted. Definitely doesn't look like a fabric material though, so maybe you'll be disappointed in that. And she is like leaning forward slightly, really exposing her chest, like it's her whole torso the way it looks on this figure, which, you know, that's kind of how it goes for Azur Lane, but definitely a very massive chest sculpt. But yeah, what else is there to really say, right? Like, I guess without the kimono sweater, you do get a better look at her legs. They're pretty attractive, and her skin complexion is rather beautiful, so great figure all around. Good stuff. Either way you go, I think you're in for a treat if you like Azur Lane. And then our last figure on Good Smile Company's page is Sakamata Chloe. This figure's fantastic. Though I will say, I feel like ever since the prototype, they like changed her face a little bit. It almost looks wider now. Either way, this one is going to cost you 32,000 yen. Very expensive. I believe she is a 1/6 scale. So decent size, and there is a lot going on with this figure. Outside of that like fluffy base, you have the Orca plushie, extra pillow cause why not, and then her jacket of course, which you can remove, as well as putting on or taking off her hood. So you do have a lot of options here. Actually, I didn't even realize that there is like extra hair pieces on top of the hood. So there is a lot of like customization to this sculpt, so that's rather impressive, you know? But yeah, for me, it's really just like the fashion, like her outfit. I just love her attire. The belts, the chains, the studs, the plaid skirt, the ripped leggings. It's just so like punk, little edgy. And I guess as an added bonus, there's no getting around this. It's a rather chesty sculpt. I wasn't really expecting that at first, but I don't know. The more you look at it, the more like you'd notice how emphasized the chest sculpt is on this figure. But yeah, I just love her outfit. Her face is very cute. Might be a little wider than it initially was, but I kind of love it. I love everything about it. It is very expensive. Thankfully, I still have some time to think about it. I'm kind of leaning on like I don't need it after, you know, moving and all of that, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. We had a few more re-releases this month, so let's just run through them very quickly. From Vertex was the 9th Villager Ulysses, which is 33,000 yen, pretty pricey, but this one is the limited edition version, comes with some optional parts. We had the Toru 1/6 scale bikini figure from Kaitendo for 27,700 yen. This one made a big stink, a huge uproar, and wouldn't you know it, they actually made a second version of this figure in a purple bikini instead, for even more money, which I guess, you know, is a little bit more fitting in terms of her colors, but is it really worth like 30 bucks more? I don't think so, but that's just me. I think this one will be a little bit harder to get in the future, so if you're into like that kind of speculation, I would say this one's the one to go for, but I don't know. Either way, we also had a figure of Albedo, Sobin version, limited color. I'm actually not sure what they've changed about this one, but 21,000 yen from Union Creative doesn't seem like too bad of a deal for an Albedo figure in a nice sweater dress outfit. Would you call her shoes gladiator heels or sandals, something along those lines? I feel like that's the correct name for them, but maybe they're slightly different either way. Love the look, super good. We had a re-release of Kuma. I don't know why I missed this one on the MegaHouse website, but he's here, 18,000 yen. Considering he's so big, seems pretty reasonable to me. But we move on to a figure of Rei, made by Flare, the Shuna Yamashita and Mitsumasa Yoshizawa rebuild of Eva Renewal Edition. So this one's kind of interesting because if you go down here and you read it, it says they're not using the previous mold, but they're using the original garage kit sold through the Eva store as the prototype. So they're just trying to make this as like good as possible, I suppose. But yeah, 23,000 yen, and she can be yours. We also had Hina from Blue Archive by Beeful. I had no idea this figure existed. Completely missed it. Somebody called me out the last time we saw a Hina figure, and I was like, they should make a figure of her original outfit. And they were like, they did, you stupid idiot. They didn't call me that, but I did feel like a stupid idiot. But yeah, Beeful, they don't have the best reputation. I think they've been like slowly reeling people back in. But I gotta give them credit for actually making a figure of Hina in this design, because it's like pretty crazy and sick, and the wings so thin on the bottom, but then they like extend outward. It's a very wide figure. But yeah, if you want her, 27,000 yen, and she can be yours. Here is the Racing Girl Kurumi Sawa 1/4 scale from Party Look for 43,000 yen. Pretty cute design for a race queen figure. I do like the checkerboard pattern. That's kind of like a race flag. The gold trim on her skirt and the sleeves is also a really nice touch. But I gotta say, I don't really get the pose. She's like bending down, but it's very awkward at like any other angle than the main one. But even in person, it's gonna look like she's bending down to like lean on something, but also kind of looks like she's about to give a pet to a dog or something like that. I don't know. Looks strange to me. I forgot if I mentioned that this is a cast-offable figure, so I can't go through the whole gallery. She is bending, and the skirt do be mini, so you're getting a little bit of a panty shot with this one. Not even a little bit, but you do have to go to the back of the figure for that. And she is kind of busty as well, despite the very cutesy face. Here's the Akuma Musume illustration by DS Smile 1/7 scale for 16,500 yen. Very good price. Her outfit kind of looks like a cage to me. She is definitely like bruised up a little bit. So yeah, kind of a sad, depressing style figure. This does have some rather nice paint apps though, like the gradation on the wings and the crispy edges of it. The top of the wings is like all glossy. I like the baked in hair shine on her bangs. And her eye decals, you know, they're very pretty. And I do dig the pearls around her arms. Solution Epsilon is getting a figure from FuRyu for 25,000 yen, a very static one at that. We just saw a figure of her, I believe it was Alter, where she was like surrounded with goo or something. Unfortunately, not familiar with her yet. This will be watched eventually, Overlord, but I have not had the time to. I do dig the battle-made outfit. The boots look sick. I like the armbands as well, and the garters, definitely very sexy. The zipper unzipped on the skirt. It's good stuff, but like, that's just the character design. I don't really think this figure is doing that much to justify this price point. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. It's a good character design, I just think they're asking a little bit too much. Psycho Bunny by Hobby Sakura for 19,000 yen. There is a deluxe edition for 21,000 yen. Includes a tapestry or a wall scroll, one or the other. So you do have an option there if you want to spend a little bit more. So yeah, it's another bunny figure, but she's a little psychotic, I suppose. What's standing out to me is really her face. It almost looks like she actually has mascara on, but also her eyes almost like glow a little bit. At least in this photo, the blue is really standing out to me, but also the way they've sculpted her mouth. Like, I don't know if it's the lipstick, I don't know if it's the teeth. Looks not strange, but just different. Just not like what we typically see in these videos. I would say, though, that she does look a little unhinged, so Psycho Bunny feels pretty appropriate here. Holding a knife, has another knife off to the side, slightly lifting one of her cheeks, as you do. You allure whoever you're trying to kill, I suppose. Aggressive side boob on her. And the hair looks nice, and I like the ears, like the like design of them just looks a little ornate at the top. I could dig it. Looks pretty good. Hobby Sakura also put up their Spark illustration by Mignon, a 1/7 scale, for about 21,000 yen, though again, this is the deluxe edition. And I really like her outfit. The crop top, the shorts that are like kind of tied together with the string, the hat's very cute, and her face is adorable. The pink eyes and the lavender hair, twin tail style. It's all slapping pretty hard for me. Her sneakers are pretty cute too. Very stand-outish compared to like the rest of her palette. Not really sure what's going on with her base. It's basically just a bunch of triangles and a lightning bolt, but it looks very good at the same time, and I like how it raises her in the air. So yeah, this one's great. This one's one of my favorite, like, OCs I've seen in a while. Moving on, we have a figure from Kaitendo again. This is the lingerie version of Rias Gremory for 31,600 yen. 1/6 scale, so it's kind of big, but that price is pretty terrible, in my opinion. I don't think this figure looks very good. Her hair kind of just looks like candy, and I think the lingerie really is just like bra and panties. It's nothing special, nor does it look like that detailed. Looks pretty basic to me. Same thing could be said for her face. I don't really see the allure of this one, besides that Rias Gremory is like in her underwear, but like, I don't know, there's other figures like that. I think this one's kind of disappointing. And she's been getting some rather good figures, so personally, you know, if you just want my stupid opinion, I don't think this one's really doing that much to warrant 30,000 yen. Hopefully that's not too bold of a statement. But here we have the Nia illustration figure. Did I read that wrong? Aiko original illustration Nia swimsuit version from Golden Head Plus for about 20,000 yen. We did see this one at one of the recent events, but I can't remember which one it was. But either way, swimsuit, but it's like really coming off of her. I do want to get a back shot of this figure. That word has been ruined. I cannot be saying that, but I have in the last few videos. Let me get a look at the back of the figure. And as we can see, the cheeks are out. Like, that's it. That's the figure. But she does have some like little wings as well. They're pretty cute. I really like how she's actually tying her hair though in this figure. You don't see that super often. I think that's a really cute pose for a figure. I think there are two faceplates with her. There's like a heterochromia thing going on. Pinkish red and the purple. I think it looks good, but there's also like a winking expression somewhere in this gallery. Yeah, you can see him in these photos if I could stop going too fast. Yeah, you know, swimsuit figure, 20,000, kind of pushing it. The wings kind of help. I guess like the sauciness makes it a little bit more like okay for them to make the price more, but you know, I think it looks good. I think it's a nice one. Here is the Atelier Sophie. Sophie figure in a swimsuit. Did we not talk about this one? I guess we saw it earlier at some events. But either way, Amakuni, 20,000 yen. I think the days of like an affordable Amakuni figure are long gone at this point. 20,000 isn't that bad, but this is a rather simplistic figure. It's just Sophie wearing a one-piece swimsuit. Kind of looks a little sporty because of the stripes, but she's also wearing a jacket over that, and the colors of this entire figure match her original outfit. So that's very clever, and she does look good here. I was going to say I didn't love her face that much. I think there was just like cuter figures of her out there, but from other photos, other angles, I do think it looks pretty good. Her eyes look much better up close. The blush is very nice as well, but I would still say there's some other figures of her that I do prefer over this one. I guess while we're at it, let's just keep talking about Amakuni's figures. So here is Narbarrel Gamma, the Sobin Bunny version, for 28,000 yen. 1/7 scale, I would say that's pretty outrageous, though I do really like this one for two reasons. One, her spear, very cool for a bunny figure to have. She is like charging a little bit of like, I don't know, electricity or energy or something, but what I really like is just the miniature version of her included in the figure. Like, that's adorable. That's such a good idea. More figures should do that, frankly. And you could do that yourself with like a Nendo or something, but for the company to just think about that and execute it, I think that's awesome. I really do love this conceptually. I know it's saving the money too, but I really like how simplistic the sculpt of the chibi version is. Like, the leggings are kind of like one flat brown. The ears aren't as creased. Same could be said for her bunny suit itself. But it works because it's supposed to be a more simplistic design of the character. I think it's great. If you could stomach that price tag, I love that one. We also, oh shit, the Makima figure for almost 30,000 yen. Now, I can't get behind this because of that price. Probably her best figure, though, just based on her face. They absolutely nailed her face. I thought Eastream did a good job, and I still think they did. But this is Makima to a T. Like, wow, this is finally the Makima we've been waiting for. If you really care about, like, character likeness, which you should. It's a very important aspect to figures. But how much are you willing to spend for that? This is very well done, but, like, it is just Makima standing around. Thankfully, her trench coat is billowing pretty aggressively, and it flows outward really nicely. It's painted very well. I wish there was more going on in the base, but most of the details are just in her outfit. The leather of her shoes, the creasing and the seams of the pants. There's like a little bit of blood on the base, but it's not enough to really like entice you, right? It looks good, but I do think Eastream did that a little bit better. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty conflicted right now. I love Fujimoto's work. I love Chainsaw Man. I don't really have a problem with getting more Makima scales, but I also don't really need something like that. I would have probably went for this one if I didn't have the Eastream one already, but I also don't love the idea of spending 30,000 yen on this figure. Also, I just got back from Look Back. The movie, beautiful. I teared up in theaters. That shit was emotional. Go see it if you have an opportunity to do so. But yeah, here we have the Yu-Gi-Oh card game monster figure collection, Ash, Blossom, and Joyous Spring for 19,800 yen. When we saw this one a while ago, I was informed that it was either like a very popular card or a very good card. It was one of them, and that's why they were making this figure, which I think also happened for the like the tour guide to the underworld, which I did pre-order. But yeah, I wish I had a little bit more to say about this one. I'm kind of struggling to think of like any commentary here. If anything, for some reason I feel like slightly unnerved looking at this figure. Like something just feels off, not with the figure, but with her like face, and not in a bad way. It just like kind of creeps me out for some reason. Might be the eyes, like the way they're designed. They're very pretty, but like it just feels like she's staring into my soul for some reason. But yeah, I mean, it's Amakuni. They'll do a good job with this one. As long as they don't have pointy teeth, they'll do a good job. From Ami Ami and Annie Gift, we have a figure of Kashino Hot Springs Relaxation mouse pad design version. So I assume this like top half of the figure is on a mouse pad out there, which makes sense. Now there are two versions of this figure, not too different, but like the string of the swimsuit can either be in her mouth or not. I think that's the only difference. And I'm kind of surprised they make you buy one or the other. That doesn't seem too complicated. What they should have done with this figure, if they're gonna base it off of a mouse pad, they should have done the thing where like they sometimes do the gimmick where the chest is squishy. Like, why not just cater to your fans as much as possible? But hey, maybe people don't want that. I'm not sure. But it feels like the thing they should have done. Either way, you know, it's got the allure that you're looking for if you like Kashino. So pretty good. Here is the Atri 1/7 scale from Aniplex for 24,500 yen. She is very pale. I don't really usually point that out, but she looks very pale to me for some reason. Very, like, exaggerated billowing of her dress. I do like the flow of her hair. Looks very pretty, but I feel like they might have gone a little bit overboard, unless this is, like, key art from something, and then it's fine. But, I don't know, it looks a little goofy to me. Maybe they're, like, on the school rooftop or by the beach or something where it would be a bit windier. But yeah, that's what's really standing out to me the most. I guess she is by the water based on these photos. So that was a good call. We also have a figure of Toho Project's Yukino for 26,100 yen. Magiarts put out this one. Surprisingly, only 2 faceplates, I think, with her. But yeah, what's with the phenomena of like multiple companies just all of a sudden making Yuyuko figures? I'm not complaining about it, I just don't get why it's happening. But they're all doing the exact same thing, opening the dress by the legs, and then making her cleavage more exposed. I just don't really care for that angle for her. It does work. I don't think it's a bad choice, but for me it just does absolutely nothing, and I couldn't tell you why, because she's like Objectively a very pretty character. I don't know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I do wish there was like a little bit more in terms of like butterflies and just effects on this YuYu figure, which is why I think that other one we saw at One Fest Shanghai is a bit more promising. That was Solar Rain, I believe. But just to be a bit more positive, I guess, I do love the shades of blue they chose for her outfit, and I do like this idea for her base, the blooming tree, a couple of the flowers falling into the water, rippling ever so gently. It's nice stuff. It's very effective, but I'm probably going to wait it out to find like the perfect one for me. Have we not talked about this figure before? Am I going crazy? Did I put this in last month's video? I can't remember. Eve Handcuffs version by rurudo. Her hair's nuts. It's draping all over her wings. That's beautiful. I wish it was a little bit thinner, but I know that's very hard to do. If you make it too thin, it's going to become brittle. It's going to break easier. Plus, it's maybe not going to like wrap around as nicely, so they have to probably do it this way. But it's still very effective. It's still lovely. I really do like hair just draping over parts of the character, or like furniture around them, the base itself. That just makes it look a little bit more realistic, and they're really emphasizing that here. Her leotard, though, is definitely pretty dang skimpy. It's very thin in like the areas where it probably should be a little bit thicker if she wants to cover herself up a bit more. But for a figure, I guess you wouldn't want that. Her wings also, this is why I'm like, I feel like I've seen this figure before. Her wings look like a tennis racket or something, like the inside of it. But yeah, let's move on, because I feel like I've talked about that one before. Kana, cat-made version, limited edition for some reason, from Union Creative, 21,000 yen. I don't think gray is the best color for Kana. It is a cute figure. I do like the pose for her. I do think her hair is nicely shaded. No highlights, so already gonna take points away from this one for that, but you know, it's a good idea. I think you could just throw Kana in any maid style outfit and it probably would work, but I don't think I love gray for her. I was about to go to the next figure. Thank God I looked a little bit longer, because you do get a second faceplate, which looks really good actually. The way they're doing the eyes here kind of rivals the Good Smile Company one. And I think she even does come with a tail, which is red. I didn't think it would be red. That's actually making me like this a little bit more. Okay, not bad. You made me like this a bit more. I think it's just adding color, right? Because this figure is so drab outside of her hair, but you put the tail back there, makes me like it that much more. We move on to Proof, Call of the Night, Nazuna, for 24,000 yen. I feel like that's pretty reasonable for this figure, and a lot of the time Proof is anything but. For one, her trench coat is absolutely massive. That's one honkin' piece of plastic, and the shading on it is great. But two, I really like the base. There's like a perspective, and it's curved, kind of cartoonishly, but there's also some depth to it. It's not just like a flat piece. It looks sick to me. I really dig it. She's floating above the night sky, essentially. I could kind of do without like the text, like the name of the anime, but like that's a small price to pay. And plus, some people might not even be bothered by that. Frankly, I'm not like bothered by it. I just don't really think it's necessary. If anything is hurting this one for me, it's probably her hair, which just looks a little bit flat. It's like one shade of pink, but I think her face is good. I like that they gave her fangs, and I definitely appreciate the attention they're putting to the body sculpt, the ribs and the tummy. I even like the way they're sculpting her chest. Kind of reminds me of like how they drew it in the anime. I don't even know how she's not like exposing herself with like her outfit here, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I think this one is pretty promising. I just wish I liked her hair a little bit more. Yeah, so I think I blacked out. It's like 10 a.m. all of a sudden. I'm just kidding, I went to sleep. But it is that early in the morning. Still have that morning voice going on. Hair's a bit more messy. But we have to finish this right now. I gotta do this, otherwise I'm screwed. So here's the Radio Eva Part 3, Asuka Langley, Hobbymax Japan, 19,300 yen. Sold out already. Kinda whack. You can still pre-order the monochrome version on AmiAmi, but I bet there's some other stores that carry the first version as well. Do you think this line is experiencing, say, fatigue because we're already on the third part? It's just ain't loading. That's great. Okay. And of course, the internet goes out right as I start. Perfect. I'll be right back, hopefully. Hey, we're back again. Definitely not going to miss Xfinity when I'm out of here. They suck. But I was going to say, Do you think there's any like fatigue setting in with this line now that we're on the third part? Feel like while this will sell pretty well, just doesn't have that like excitement that the other figures did. Even though I would say this looks at least as good as the second version, and definitely a lot better than part 1. But maybe people don't love this pose that she's in. I think it's pretty unique, pretty fresh for a figure. Just the squat, very low to the ground. Outfit's great. Love the text all over her leggings. Also, her color scheme makes me think of the green jacket that she wears in the movies over the red plug suit, even with like the red boots on top of that. Very similar stuff. Alter is making a figure of that design, but we have not gotten there yet. I definitely like this one. Her expression's great too. Face, art style's definitely on point. But yeah, I guess you can only do this so many times before people get a little tired of it, per se. Like, these are going to be great figures, but I don't know how many times people are going to keep dipping into the Hobbymax figures. There is a 1/4 scale of Ikaruga, the sexy nurse version from Senran Kagura, about 34,000 yen, kind of in line with the freeing pricing, but these used to be a little bit cheaper. If executed properly, I wouldn't really have a problem with this price. I feel like there's more going on in her outfit here compared to the typical basic bunny figure that we even saw in this video for around the same price. But it just kind of depends on how nice the sculpt and the shading looks. From Arknights, we got W, dress version by Mythos for 15,000 yen. Very, very cheap figure. You got a really nice black glossy table, a whole chessboard. I do wonder if you can move the pieces around. Might be a little annoying. You'll definitely lose one of those if you're not careful, but who's to say they're not just like glued to the base. She's also got a champagne glass in her hand, and the chair looks pretty comfy thanks to the cushion on the bottom. But we haven't even talked about her outfit, which is nice and formal. Where's a good photo of it? Sexy open back design showing a little bit of her chest from the back. Her tail also, like I forgot this character had a tail, as well as some antennas, and they're painted in this like nice red with a gradation to it. But yeah, the top portions of her design, the antennas, I'm just gonna call them like bug parts because I don't know any better. It does seem like they're using metallic red paint, which makes them pop even more. Face is very pretty. I think she's also sticking her tongue out ever so slightly, so that's a very cute expression. Like, the value here is absolutely nuts. One of the best values in this video, bar none. Prisma Wing continues to confuse the nation. Why is this figure 40,000 yen? Hajime Kokonoi, 1/7 scale. 40,000. I don't get it. He's sitting on a safe. He's got a stack of cash, and some of it is like falling out. Kind of cool looking, honestly. But like, that's it. Other than that, his outfit's very baggy. I don't even think he comes with optional parts like his friend did, so the pricing's even worse in this situation. But to me, this just reads as like Prime 1 is so comfortable, making so much money from their normal statues. They're very successful, and that's great for them. But it's almost like that has created a safety net so they can just experiment with this line and see what they can get away with. Frankly, they don't even have to produce many of these figures, so it can't really be that detrimental to the company if a couple of these do bomb on the market. But I feel like it's going to be more than a couple if they continue these pricing trends, because even though I know Tokyo Revengers is pretty popular, I just don't believe its core audience is willing to spend 40,000 yen on this guy. We also had an almost 50,000 yen figure of Tina Topia, $3 on Neon Island. Like, yeah, at least there's some more colors on this one, I guess. The spectrum's very pretty here. They are using like different types of plastic for the translucencies, the matte finishes elsewhere. But come on, man. 50,000 yen? She's not even that big. There's not even like much going on with the base. Like, I don't know, man. You're gonna ask this much money, but also still include a very basic support stand in the back of your figure, even when she's planted on the ground with both of her feet? I feel like that's a little bit unacceptable at this price point. I will say, though, that I do like her scimitars on her back. They're a little gaudy just because of the jewelry that's just, like, all over the sheaths, I'm assuming, but it's very unique. I don't think I've seen swords like that ever, or at least in a very long time. But yeah, I don't know. Just does not seem very worth it to me. And by very, I mean it's just not worth it at all. Let's talk about Alter, though, with their Asuka figure. This one is from 3.0, 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time. the hoodie version for about 24,000 yen. I do think this is one of my favorite figures of her ever. It definitely rivals the other alter figure where she's wearing the hat. I think because of that figure's legacy, it will never like not be popular, and I don't think they will replace each other ever. But if you're someone like me who did miss out on that first figure and you don't want to pay aftermarket prices, then I do think this is a great alternative. They certainly have a very similar expression as she's looking very tired with the bags under her eyes. It's funny how one line under her eye will just change everything, the way you perceive her. But that's just kind of how it is. Also, of course, she does have an eye patch. But this figure is painted so nicely. The shading is immaculate across the board. And I really like these darker shades of red for the plug suit. Now, people have complained that they've overdone it on the belly button, specifically when it comes to the shading, and I do agree with that. Like, they didn't need to make this, like, teardrop shape, one, so big, and two, so dark, but I don't really care at the end of the day. Like, I do think that's a valid criticism, but I also don't think it ruins the figure at all. You know what it reminds me of? If anybody remembers the old, like I'm talking 10 years ago or so, 2 out of 10 meme, it was never funny. But it was just like you would take somebody objectively very like attractive and then be like, oh, her elbows are too sharp. She's a 2 out of 10. Wouldn't bang. It's like, what are we talking about here? But yeah, I don't know. Outside of that, I think this is a wonderful figure of Asuka. I don't know why my buttons aren't working, but I'm still undecided if I like the hood up or the hair out on this figure. The pose does make a little bit more sense as she's actually like gripping the hood just ever so slightly when it's up, and you don't change the arms at all on this figure, so she's kind of just like, I don't know, it looks like she's maybe about to adjust her hair without the hood, but that's not actually what's going on. But it kind of looks that way just because of like the flow of her hair, like she's kind of brushing it off, so it does work in a sense, but not exactly the same. Either way, Alter had a bunch of figures this month, including this cute-ass one of Entoma from Overlord, 18,600 yen. Still have not seen Overlord, but I actually pre-ordered this. I really shouldn't have because that's one of my reasonings for not getting figures, just not knowing the source material, but she is goddamn precious. I really like this bug girl, and I like that she's wearing a hoodie that just doesn't fit her at all. The sleeves are enormous. I think it's because she does not have traditional arms, but you guys correct me in the comments. I feel like that's the case. She might have like little bug hands, not sure. But those leggings, I believe, are on the standard outfit that she wears. But I love those striped leggings that are like just 2 different shades of pink. Got those talismans that are like just all over them, which looks really cool to me. And the base is so strange. I think it's supposed to be like a shadow, but I'm kind of surprised that it's included at all, considering the price point is pretty cheap for an alter figure. But you could basically break it down into 2 parts. That front, where it's like against a wall, casting a shadow, kind of smearing a little bit. And then the bottom portion, which basically just looks like arachnid legs, like spider legs. Very cool. I dig this one a lot. And I think she's cute. She's a little weird. She's a little creepy, but I think that does make her cuter. And I love her bun hair. In fact, you know what? I didn't even notice that when I pre-ordered the figure. Just, I don't know. I just didn't even look at it that hard. I'm like, yep, this design's for me. I'm going to pre-order this one. She's a darling. Her face is cute too. The mouth looks exactly like the Romelia mouth that Alter released recently. I reviewed it on the channel. But it's like the exact same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they like found another purpose for that mouth sculpt. But yeah, we're not done with Alter just yet. We did have a figure of Agnes Tachion for 22,700 yen. This character has 2 figures right now, one from Kotobukiya, I believe, and now one from Alter. I believe she's a movie character. Normally it takes a little bit longer to see multiple figures of one horse girl. That doesn't even happen that often now that I think about it. But I think she is pretty popular. She does have a good design. Doesn't even really look like the other girls because of this like lab coat that she's wearing. Honestly, it doesn't really look that much like a lab coat, but there are vials just like hanging off of belts on the coat. But the color scheme, you know, it makes you think of a lab coat, right? Her eyes kind of look like scan lines, at least on the Kotobukiya figure. I'm assuming that's what's going to go on here. You can kind of see it in this photo, but her eye design is one of her standout features. And it's another figure where her sleeves don't fit properly, like her arms are too short for the coat and the outfit that she's wearing. I think I just like that. It's moe. Now, the last figure from Alter is from Azur Lane. Here we have Ulrich von Hutten for about 32,000 yen, a pretty pricey one. Now, I don't have a big investment in Azur Lane. In fact, I only like a few characters from the series, like Bremerton, New Jersey. I would say Ulrich von Hutten is up there, just in terms of, like, designs I've seen making these videos and have just kind of stuck with me. My unfamiliarity with the cast just makes her look a little bit more unorthodox compared to every other, like, character I've seen. And I guess that just helps her stand out more in my mind, but I really like her face. I think she has a gorgeous face. Even outside of the expression, like, her eyes are just wonderful. But, yeah, so many figures today with their tongue sticking out, though she's licking her lips, so a little bit more suggestive in this instance. And speaking of, like, she's just wearing belts. Like, what is this outfit? Now, she does come with, like, this little armchair. I say little, but it's actually pretty big. And then I guess the rest of her outfit, or like a cape or something, is draping over it. The material looks very soft and thin and pretty dang realistic, if I might add. Just notice that she does have a second faceplate where I'm assuming she's sleeping, but this expression's not really for me because you're taking away one of my favorite parts of her design. And I guess you could just take everything off of her if you want to, which might be contributing to that price, right? Like the customization, the accessories and alternative pieces. Sorry, I had to step out just now for like 30 minutes, so I don't really remember what I was talking about, but she looks very serene with this extra expression. Alter's gonna cook. I know they will. But yeah, I think that's it for Alter. Here we have a figure of Niji Sanji's Ayamiya Kokoro from FuRyu for 24,200 yen. Somebody got very mad at me when I didn't talk about the Niji Sanji figures. Frankly, I just don't have that much to say about them. But yeah, now I definitely feel like I'm on the spot, at least a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking of what I should say here in the limited time I have left. I do like her pose. The curtsy is very cute. Lifting both sides up, but also like tilting a little bit, just makes her feel a little bit more alive in this way. She's also got like a little dragon friend, which is not the cutest thing I've seen, but you know, still cute at the end of the day. And I do really like her palette. It's a very refreshing blue across the board. Pretty much the entire figure is blue with like a little bit of white and a little bit of gold accents just because of the bells and like the chains around her waist. But some lovely gradation on her hair. That's probably my favorite part of the palette. And the shading on the dress is really nice. You got that pinstripe design on the very bottom. Seems pretty good to me. I think it's alright. 24,000 yen doesn't seem too bad for a VTuber figure either. But with VTuber figures, a lot of the time the price doesn't even matter. If they're your favorite, your Oshi, then you're not going to care. You're going to get it anyway. So you probably know if you like this one or not, and you're going to be picking it up. We also have a figure from the new series, Atelier Yumiya, which I guess that's her name, right? For 28,000 yen. Super expensive. This game ain't even out yet. I don't think it's out anytime soon, but they're cashing in immediately. I think she's got a great design. It does feel like they're trying to capture the same like magic that they had with Ryza, that lightning in a bottle, where it's just like all of a sudden everybody likes the Atelier series just because of one character. So yeah, it feels like they were inspired by Ryza a little bit, made her a little bit sexier than some of the older character designs from the Atelier series, at least from what I've seen. I could be totally wrong on that. A little over-designed, a little bit hard to parse everything that's going on here. The way she's holding, like, that gem in her hand, it makes me think of, like, lipstick. Maybe because of the way she's kind of, like, pursing her lips a little bit as well. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Also, I should probably roll back that over-designed statement. She just has, like, a lot of stuff hanging off of her coat. And her boots look kind of crazy, but it's just a, you know, unique fantasy design. Not going to complain about that. We don't want stuff that's too basic when it comes to fantasy, so, you know, I think it's pretty cool. I don't think it hits as hard as Ryza, but I also don't know anything about this character because it ain't out yet. This is so bold of them to do. Also, to ask for 28,000 yen for a character nobody knows is making KT Model come off as, like, a little bit overconfident. I wouldn't say, like, arrogant, but, like, I don't feel like this should have happened yet. She does have some really nice legs, though, and the mini skirt really hugging the butt only accentuates that. So, yeah, it's a good one, but I think they should have waited a little bit. From Apex, we had a figure of Iroha for 18,000 yen. I'm kind of surprised this is 18,000. I thought it would have been a little bit less, but maybe that's the fluffy hair tack. She does have some massive and very fluffy looking hair. Not to the touch, but just like the volume of it, right? Great colors, cute face. I think this is like her default pose or whatever, like the key art that you would find if you looked her up. But yeah, so not super exciting for like a pose. It's very static, not so dynamic. But you know, not every figure needs to be dynamic, and Apex's quality will definitely deliver. Like, this will be a nice figure. It's just not the most like exciting thing to critique, right? But they did a good job. I think that one is going to be pretty solid. We also have a figure that we saw at One Fest, I believe. Here is Argus from Azur Lane by Golden Head, 21,700 yen. Very pretty. I think she has a lovely face, as well as like the color palette. Like, the spectrum isn't too wide, but there is enough like variance in terms of the shades of blue and white that they went for here. So the shading's great. Gradation is like subtle but effective, and the voluminous hair sculpt is definitely an eye catcher. Very like horizontal this time around. Like, it doesn't really extend too low, like past her waist, but it does flow outward in a very appealing manner. And the pattern work on like each layer of her dress definitely catches my eye. You do have to get up close, so maybe some like other photos outside of Ami Ami would look better, but you can see that as I scroll through the gallery. Also, I like the fancy band around her leg. Almost looks like the leggings are attached to that. I don't know if that's the case, but I do like that down there. It just makes you look at her thighs a little bit longer. And the corset looks pretty good too. Anyway, we move on. Here is a figure. Oh, I forgot about this one. So here is the Marin Kitagawa baby doll version. I would have felt pretty bad if I didn't talk about this figure. Made by Aniplex, 22,000 yen. I'm going to go on record saying this is like a top 5, maybe even top 3 Marin figure. I really like this Marin. I think the colors complement her so well, and I think the outfit is like a perfect fit. And the pose is like so in character too. The only thing I'm worried about is like, can Aniplex actually nail this design and make it look as good as possible? Like, this isn't a school uniform. It's not a bikini figure. The design is rather elaborate, and everything looks so frilly and dainty and thin, and like, you got to be very careful with how you handle it, the different finishes, to make sure each like article of clothing looks as realistic as possible. So I think this is one of their more like ambitious Marin sculpts. I do hope the best for it, because I really do like this design. Like I said earlier, I think it is a top 3 or 5 design for Marin so far, and I don't think this price is that bad, especially if you do get it from Good Smile Company, because the shipping will be way cheaper. So I'm basically out of time now. There's like 2 or 3 more figures I need to talk about in a little bit more detail, but before we get there, I'll just show these last few very quickly. We have the cabin attendant Aya from Vertex for 27,500 yen. Unfortunately sold out right now. Very voluptuous, the hips don't lie. This will be a cast off from one of the photos, but I feel like it's a little bit risky to show. I will say, I really like how glossy the stewardess outfit is. I don't know why, it just really pops very nicely, and I do dig it. We have a figure from Otherware of Hori illustration by DS Smile, a 1/6 scale, 21,000 yen, very pretty pink dress here. Very nice shading along the edges of the dress, and you are getting a little bit of that cheek peek with her. Not a cast off though. We had 2 figures from Prisma Ilya, one of Ilya herself and one of Miyu, for like 17,000 yen each, both by FuRyu. Frankly, they like absolutely nailed the character likenesses here, so like props to them. They look very good. Like, their faces are essentially perfect. It's just going to come down to if you want swimsuit figures of them or not. We got 2 figures from Data Bullet, Kurumi, and White Queen by Design Coco. You can buy these 2 separately. They're basically in their lingerie, or really just bra and panties, but putting on some like fishnet leggings. And they're going to cost you 42,000 yen. I think that's pretty damn expensive. The figures do look a lot better up close. The original shot doesn't do these 2 very much justice. So make sure you go through the gallery. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best idea of how these 2 are going to end up looking like. We also had 2 figures from Sengoku Yoko. You can buy these 2 separately if you would like to. Did I say that about the previous 2? You can. But we got Jinka and Tama, 43,000 yen. I do like the way they're incorporated into one figure. It's pretty seamless. In fact, I'm not even sure how it exactly works. But I think if we go through the gallery, we can see that I'm assuming this is Tama. Haven't seen this show yet. Her base is like so much smaller, whereas Jinka is taking up most of the base. But you put them both together, it's very seamless. And even though, like, this series, I did read a little bit of it, it didn't, like, grab my attention like the author's other works, I still do love and adore his, like, art style, so I do like this overall. I just don't know these characters. I do dig the dynamism, I do dig the effect pieces like the flames, and their poses make them feel very alive, like they're in the middle of combat or they're about to fight, right? So they've done good here. I'm just not super familiar with this company's quality. We had an Azur Lane figure of Prince Heinrich on the stage version by FuRyu, 27,000 yen. Everything on this figure is like actually massive, from her bunny ears to her braided ponytail. Even her actual tail on the back is just like this massive clump of fluffy plastic. Really do love her velvety dress though. It's a really nice shade, and the glossiness to it, very eye-catching. We also had a figure, I forgot about Q's Q. I guess frankly this month I don't have too much to say about their stuff, but we had the Silveria Bless swimsuit style figure for 23,000 yen. Looks like anything but a swimsuit figure, but maybe she just wants to look like powerful at the beach. Fishnets though, those are gonna get ruined with the sand. But yeah, midriff exposed, skirt pretty short. You have that Raita art style, so the proportions might not really be to your liking. Hair is super long though. I do like how many individual strands are broken up in the back and flowing outward. Shading's looking excellent here, not so much in terms of like gradation, but subtly applied when needed. And yeah, if this is a seam line, I think that looks pretty terrible, but maybe it's not, maybe that'll look better on the final products. But I trust them. They're a great company, one of my favorites. We also had the Meido Buso AX Experimental Equipment version on 7 scale for 34,000 yen. There is a lot going on here, despite how she's in a very, you know, skimpy outfit, a bikini maid style, I would call it. There is like the massive axe that she's wielding. There's like some mechanical detail on her legs and her tail lifting the little plate with like the energy drink on it. I've always liked that about this figure. Colors are great here, primarily like her skin complexion contrasting with her silver hair. That looks lovely. The light shade of green chosen for her eyes is also excellent. And I guess I'm just learning this now, she has a bonus faceplate and is also cast offable. I don't remember a lot of QSQ figures that are like that, but I might even censor that a little bit more just because of how large her bust is. I would say some of the colors are a little bit gaudy, like the Piccolo colors here, but like, it definitely works. We move on now to Apex, which is right here. I guess these are our last two figures, unless I forgot one. But here is Zenless Zone Zero's Nicole for 22,400 yen. I'm sure a lot of people have already pre-ordered this figure, considering I'm very late. But it's another in the line, the second girl to get a figure. Great choice of pose for Nicole, like having her crossing her legs, showing off her thighs a little bit. Also kind of like pushes her boots forward, which is maybe like the most detailed aspect of her clothing. They've also got her sitting on a rather fancy looking suitcase, which I feel like is a nice touch as well. Still have that film reel thing going on from the last figure. I'm assuming all 4 of the characters that have been announced so far will have that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, I guess before we move on, I'll go through the gallery just to show you guys some more angles of the figure, some more details within the clothing, like the patch on her pants, like the design on the back of her jacket, how like curly her hair is at the tips. It's good stuff. But yeah, I'm sure this one will be very popular just because everybody loves her. And this figure looks pretty ace to me. Last up, I guess we're going to be talking about the Azur Lane Awari Shimmering Forsythia version from Apex for 19,800 yen. So this was the other figure that she received this month. And I'm not sure which one is better, but I'm leaning towards this one. You might not have the oversized like sweater kimono. In fact, you really don't have any clothing on this figure besides a very tiny thin dress that's also being worn rather loosely, specifically around her chest, but likely around her waist as well. Not very sure how like far this reaches down her body, but seems very tiny to me. But the face is like beautiful here, and like I said, with the Meido Buso figure, her skin complexion is gorgeous. They did a wonderful job there. The like slightly duller shade of gold they went with for her jewelry really like matches along with the rest of the colors. It's really not very vibrant of a color palette. Everything feels very grounded in this instance, but I think that's to the figure's advantage. It just makes her look a little bit more realistic, I suppose, in our world. You do get a Manju, little like leg rub, I suppose, kind of blushing for some reason. I guess I can understand how he's feeling. I forget if there's another one, another Manju. I think there is. Oh yeah, that one's like rubbing her butt. Support, I suppose. But yeah, you are getting like the entire futon as well. A couple of pillows, the bed sheets, her hair, like the braided hair is like draping all the way down onto the sheets as well. But yeah, this figure of her is essentially showing off like every single inch of her body to make her look as sexy and appealing as possible. And I would say they're doing that to great effect, like they're nailing the assignment. And I guess one more thing before we go, I really like the intentional placements of every single piece of jewelry, just to have that like dangling aspect, even though I don't think they'll move, but they look like they're sliding down her arms, for instance, or like they're just, you know, realistically going down her body, like that chain around her neck that kind of attaches to her shoulders, like that fabric over there. And same could be said for around her legs and her horns. It's wonderful stuff. Apex definitely cooked here. But yeah, I gotta wrap up. So thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. I don't know when this video is going up. I just know I needed to record it right now. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. I don't know what the next video will be. Probably gonna be very busy in the next 2 weeks or so, but I'll try and squeak in something if I can. But yeah, thank you very much for supporting my channel. And I'll leave it at that. See you around. Take care. Later. Alrighty fellas, it's time for another outro. Haven't recorded one of these in like a month or so, but happy to say, finally moved into the new apartment. It is taking me a little bit to adjust, and I don't even have all of my stuff. I'm kind of happy that I didn't hand it all to like a mover because they kind of damaged some of my furniture. Not too happy about that, but I had a feeling that was going to happen just because I have not had the best experience with movers. But either way, right? That'll all get, you know, sorted eventually, just taking my time here. Though right now, we have some thank yous to get through. So thank you very much to my Patreon supporters. Really means a lot to me. And special shout outs to Japanese Salesman, Sasami Adachi, Swoop, Nemia Dynaskull, Christy Eisenman, Aki Rusu, SHB, DT Perigi, Kaif Marie, and Magnatune. All of you guys are so kind, and I should mention that thanks to the support I've received on Patreon, I actually went out and bought a webcam, like a much better one, just because it's been long overdue. The webcam I was using for these news videos is so crummy, so we've updated. The last 3 videos or so have been using it. If I did a side-by-side, you would definitely see how terrible my old webcam is, but when it's so small, you probably don't even notice. But yeah, that's pretty much all I needed to say, so I guess we're out. See you guys later. Have a good one. And once again, thank you very much for 1, watching the videos, and 2, supporting or even checking out my Patreon. See you later.